Okay, so I am an idiot. I recorded this morning, and I'm going to tell you, I'm looking after my kids this morning, so I get very precious time to just take 5 minutes break and come and do a video. And I was like, yes, I've got 10 minutes. They're eating their breakfast on the sofa. This is great. And then I recorded it and I uploaded it. And the first comment was there's no audio. And I went and had a look and I realized I'd kicked out my audio mixer cable. And I hadn't recorded any audio whatsoever for the wishlist video, which is absolutely agonizing when you've got children. I can tell you that. Luckily, my mum has come round and I've got a bit of time before I start work. So we are now going to talk about everything wishlist related. We are going to do a whole wishlist. And what this is going to do is going to show you the wishlist that you should be aiming for, or you should set up for your best progression and late game potential. This is, in my opinion, the best wishlist you can do. But there are changes that you will see me make as we go through, because I'm going to explain everything as we go through. Let's start off with, in my opinion, the weakest family, which is Lightbearer. Now, Lightbearer is kind of a crap family because they don't have many good heroes. However, they've got one really good hero that's going to help with your progression, and that's Rowan. Now, he's a one copy wonder. You do not need Rowan at Mythic Plus to have like the most impact ever. Rowan will be very, very good, even at just the first copy that you get of him. So once you get Rowan and you don't think you're going to be having any, you don't think you're going to be getting Mythic Plus anytime soon, if you want to swap in things like Temesia or even just to get Atlanta, because I don't know why Atlanta's an S tier, she's useless. But anyway, Rowan is a great copy to get. Other than that, inside Lightbearer, you're looking at Cassidy. Cassidy actually gets useful in the late game. She becomes quite strong at her Mythic Plus level, and especially at her Mythic Plus level can become very good in Dream Realm progression. So that's why we have Cassidy in there. Marily is probably the single best Dream Realm DPS hero in the game, even better than Odie, just based on the debuffers that we run at the moment. And if you get her to Mythic Plus, she is one of the highest DPS outputs in terms of single target in the game as well. And then you've got Corin, who's got quite a bit of self-sustain in his kit, is also a very good Dream Realm DPS. The rest of the A-tier heroes in Lightbearer, these four, so from these four here, apart from Lucius, they're all kind of bad. Lucius is okay and can be a good off-tank later into the game and can sometimes help with your progression because he has got another heal, got quite a big area of effect heal, which can be useful, but he doesn't survive very long most of the time, so it's going to be difficult to make him work. Mauler. So S tier is actually quite simple. Reese can be useful. There is definitely some situations where Reese is useful, but other than that, you're primarily looking at Brutus and Smokey. They should be your focus for progression and also for late game. Brutus and Smokey will both be incredibly useful for pushing AFK stages, and they form part of the meta composition right now, which is kind of like Brutus, Antandra, and Smokey. When it comes to A-tier heroes, it's actually really annoying. There are three that you really want. So Odie is one of the best single target DPS, and eventually at Mythic Plus, one of the best squad DPSs in the game. Antandra is an incredible tank alongside Brutus. This is why you kind of want her there. But then you also want Coco, because Coco is another really important part of pushing AFK progression. So what I would suggest is just swap them in and out based on where you are. Like if you're close to getting the next level for Antandra, keep Antandra in. If you're close to getting the next level for Coco, keep Coco in. That's basically how I'd approach Mauler. But they are difficult. Like Mauler is a very good progression family at the moment, and it forms very kind of meta compositions. So you do want quite a lot from the Mauler category. Wilder is interesting because realistically, there are only two Wilder heroes that most people care about. That one is Iron at Mythic Plus and Arden, because they form part of the late game team comp that pretty much everybody runs, which is basically Iron, Arden, and Carolina. And then whatever else you put in there, sometimes Thorin, and then often things like Rowan or whatever. Outside of those two, it's really up to you what you want to put in. I would recommend probably Hewin, because if you're following kind of the meta, you don't really need Granny Dani. Even though she is a good tank and can help you with progression, she isn't as good as Thorin and doesn't really fit if you're running kind of like the Mauler strategy as well. So Hewin actually can be pretty good in PvP as a healer, so Hewin is decent. Damien is decent in PvP as well, which is why we've got him in. The rest of the Wilder heroes, like Leica is okay. Like, something about Leica. I pulled loads of copies of Leica at the start. I've nearly got her to Mythic, which is hilarious. She's at Legendary Plus at the moment. But she's actually not that good. She's kind of mediocre. She's a buffer / DPS. She's not as good DPS as most of the other single target DPS in the game. And there just aren't many comps that really fit Leica for the time being. But all of these heroes are going to help you in the the Legend Tower anyway. And then we get to Graveborn. This is where I find it difficult, because Graveborn is sort of like all the S tier heroes are good. Now I'm focusing on Cessia and Thorin. There is a discussion to be had about Cessia, and the reason there is a discussion to be had about Cessia, well, to be honest, there's a lot of discussion to be had about a lot of them, because if you are doing your arena, you'll notice that there are things like you can get Brutus copies in the arena, you can get Cessia copies in the arena, you can get Igor copies in the arena, you can also get Cassidy copies in the arena, but they are expensive and you can't buy them that often, which is why it's nice to keep them on your wish list as well. But I am very close to basically maxing Cessia. So if you give me a second, yeah, I've got 2 copies of Cessia to get, and I've got her to Supreme Plus at that point. And then I don't need Cessia anymore. So I'm keeping Cessia in my wish list just to get her to that point, because then I basically remove her from the pool. I don't need Cessia at that point anymore. Sorry. Anyway, that's why I'm going for Cessia. Thorin as well, he's really, really important to a lot of comps as the game progresses. However, Igor is great in PvP, and Carolina forms part of that very important Iron and Arden composition, so you do eventually want to go for Carolina, but I'm so far away from that right now that I'm not bothering. I'm just going to, for progression's sake, I'm keeping Cessia there, because she is what's kind of driving my progression forward at the moment. Later on, I will want to try and pick up some Carolinas, but ultimately not at this point in time. In terms of A-tier heroes, Viperion and Neru is what I'm going for, but realistically, I wouldn't go for Neru. I'd go for Sylvina. The reason I'm running Neru at the moment is because I'm kind of trying out a comp with Neru to see if it works. But ultimately, that comes down to your discretion. It depends on what you want. This guy, I didn't even know his name. He's so bad. This chap, terrible. Whereas I think Sylvina is important in PvP. But I'm running Neru and Viperion at the moment. Viperion is mythic. Can you believe it? Like, somehow pulled about 50 billion copies of that of that guy. My Odie is also mythic, so I'm doing quite well in terms of Odie as well. But this is essentially how I would build my wish list for late game progression, with some context on the Graveborns and with some context on the Maulers. This is going to help you build a comps that are going to be great in PvE. You're going to have some PvP stuff there, and then towards the end, you're having a lot of Dream Realm additions as well, because again, Dream Realms often require very specific comps. You can't just run the same stuff you'd run for like AFK progression in Dream Realms, because different units have different specialities. So that is how I set things up. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know how you're getting on in AFK Journey. Like, how far have you progressed? What AFK stage are you at? I'd love to hear. I'm currently at AFK stage... I will show you. Currently at AFK stage 453, but realistically, I should probably push a bit further than that, because my comp power is quite good. I just am not very good at running the meta compositions, because I don't have the right units for them at the moment. But anyway, I'll see you soon.